Here, now you try. What is this? And terrifying. That's terrifying.
Let's get out of here!
Mel, what did you do?
Harold is a child living in an imaginary world, where anything he draws comes to life. He draws two animals and names them Moose and Porcupine, and together they become fast friends. As Harold grows older, so does his imagination. One day, he thinks to himself, how am I able to draw my imagination and bring it to life? Who must have drawn me? At that moment, a mysterious voice answers him, saying, I drew you, Harold. Harold gets curious and wants to meet his creator, but the voice tells him that he lives in the real world, which is very different from his own. Harold is thrilled to finally hear from his creator and gives him the name Old Man, judging from the voice he heard. The next day, Harold wakes up ready to ask the old man more questions, but he's met with silence. He searches everywhere in the imaginary world but couldn't hear anything. Feeling abandoned, Harold decides to draw a makeshift door, which he calls the real world. He gets through it first, leaving Moose and Porcupine to watch out in case the old man shows up in the other world. Harold is excited to see so many humans, so he changes his clothes to fit in. He then spots an old man and assumes him to be the old man he's looking for. Meanwhile, Moose has already made his way through the portal and has transformed into a human. He bumps into Harold, and together they spot an elderly man, assuming him to be the old man they're searching for. However, the old man scares Harold and Moose off. Harold then draws a bicycle and brings it to life, and they both ride through the city in search of the old man. As they're riding, a lady, unaware of the incoming duo, quickly swerves to avoid hitting them and punctures her tire. Harold sees this and helps her draw a new tire. The lady, Terry, a mother of a young child named Mel, decides to drop them off wherever they're heading. Inside the car, Harold tells Mel that he has no idea where he's going, but he has to find his old man. Mel doesn't want anything to do with the quest, but Terry persuades her to help the men, reminding her that she's always taught her to help those in need. Mel drives them to her home, where she complains about the painting of the house and the furniture. She really wants to change it but can't afford it. She takes the duo to her storage room, where they'll spend the night and leave the next day. Harold finds her music books, and she explains to him that she wanted to be an artist growing up, but life happened, and now she's working a job she hates. Harold is excited about his experiences so far, but Moose doesn't like the real world and complains that there's too much pain and conflict. Harold assures him that once they find the old man, everything will get back to normal, and they can head back home. Meanwhile, Porcupine is wandering around the city park in search of her friends. She behaves like a weird animal. She meets the old man from earlier and greets him politely, but he immediately scares her away. He reports these incidents to two police officers who doesn't take him serious at first. That night, Harold takes the time to bond with Terry. Terry tells him about her mom and her struggles as a single parent, hoping that she could at some point be happy because she has always hated her job. Harold also shares his adventure to find his old man. Together, they decide to help each other. Harold shows Terry how to use the magic crayon, and he draws a butterfly that flies around. He asks her to do the same, and Terry ends up drawing a flying spider. The spider quickly devours the butterfly, and the duo runs to hide from it. Porcupine sees a purple flower in someone's yard and assumes that's a sign that Harold must be in the house. She ends up breaking into someone else's house and eats their cake before the alarms go off, and the house owners threaten to call the cops. This scares her, and she runs out. Mel wakes up to see her apartment's new look, thanks to Harold, but still asks the young men to leave because she has to take Terry to school and she too has to go to work. So, Harold breaks his crayon in two and gives Terry the other half to keep. It turns out later that Terry ditched his class for the day and helps the duo to the library to find their old man. They meet Gary, who's trying to sell his book series with a name that's hard to pronounce and a storyline that's boring. Harold narrates their predicament, and Gary is reluctant at first, but since he has a crush on Terry's mom, he decides to help. Gary uses a computer to search for their supposed old man but can't find anything because the information they provided isn't enough. Taking Gary's advice to fly in the air and send out messages seriously, they decide to try that alternative. Gary witnesses Harold using the crayon to draw up a plane, and he quickly recalls a book called Harold and the Purple Crayon, believing that somehow the story has come to life. Meanwhile, the trio takes off to the sky, where they use the fumes from the airplane to write Mel's contact number, asking the old man to call them, thinking it's a great idea. At work, all kinds of old people call Mel, including school kids who use the opportunity to pretend to be old people so they can make fun of her.
Ha! Oh, I'm like 40 and I just pooped my pants.
She almost loses her job at the store where she works due to the calls she's been receiving. Terry is dropped off in his school compound, where he's bothered by two bullies. When they try to steal his whistle, he elbows one of the bullies in the face, giving him a bloody nose. This gets him sent to the principal's office. Meanwhile, Harold and Moose make it to the store where Mel works. She finds them and questions them about the calls she's been receiving from old men throughout the day, hoping they had nothing to do with it. But at that moment, Mel receives yet another call, but this time from the school principal, who tells her she needs to meet in her office about her son right away. Mel ends up telling the duo to work her shift while she gets to the school. Within a few minutes, the duo gets bored and tired, which makes them realize why Mel hated her job so much. A customer requests a pair of Puma shoes, and Harold ends up drawing a real-life Puma who wanders around the store. In the blink of an eye, the store gets wrecked, thanks to the great job Harold did. Mel gets back to find the store in so much mess that she gets fired by her Indian manager. As they walk home, Harold encourages Mel to embrace who she is by doing what she loves, and maybe losing her job was a sign for her to start doing her own thing. At that moment, he draws a purple piano and asks her to play. This draws a lot of attention, and she plays to the amusement of the onlookers. Meanwhile, Porcupine is being chased down by two detectives after she trashes a store owner's shop for telling a kid not to use a crayon. Gary finds Harold and Moose, pulling them away from Terry and Mel. He shows them the book of Harold and the Purple Crayon and then informs them of Crockett Johnson, the author of the book and his so-called old man, promising them that he'd take the group to meet him. Just as Harold is excited about the good news, Porcupine runs into him and Moose. Their joyful reunion is cut short when the police tackles Porcupine to the ground, and the three friends are arrested. Inside the cell, Moose breaks down and complains about how much he hates the real world. Harold tries to get them out by making Porcupine act crazy in front of an officer without noticing Moose sneak around to get Harold's crayon. After grabbing it, they make a huge key to keep the police officers out as they break out from behind to go look for their old man together. At school, Terry sees his friends drive across the street and hurries to join them but gets locked in a closet by the bullies. He pulls out a piece of the crayon that Harold broke off earlier to give him for safekeeping and uses it to draw his imaginary friend to life. He breaks out of the closet, scares the bullies, and then helps get Terry out, leaving the school walkway trashed. He joins the team in search of Crockett Johnson, his old man. Terry uses his phone's GPS to quickly locate the man's apartment, which is just a few minutes away from their current location. Harold thinks he's a genius, so they all excitedly drive off to the location as Porcupine drives, even if it's her first time handling wheels. Gary sees this and chases after them. Mel gets a call from the principal about her son running away from school, instinctively knowing it must have been Harold. Mel uses her phone GPS to track her son. At the Johnsons' house, Harold is disappointed to learn that the old man, his creator, is dead. Devastated, he loses every will to continue his adventures. As Mel's mom comes up to pick up her son and warns him not to come anywhere near him, at that moment, Harold's world begins to fall apart as everything he'd ever drawn with the crayon starts to dissipate into dust, including his friends and Mel's car wheel, leaving her stranded on the road. Gary appears to Harold and offers to help him by taking his crayon. After that, he imprisons him and locks him up, turning the surrounding into a volcano, and tells him his whole plan to bring his ideal world to life as Gilgamesh. Meanwhile, Terry comes looking for Harold only to be grabbed and chained also. Gary leaves, promising to bring his own book series to life, and goes outside to ride a horse, like in medieval times. On the other side, Terry's mom finds out that her son has left the house and she immediately goes out to look for him. Inside the library building, Terry gives Harold the other half of the crayon, and with ease, they both escape from the building with a hot air balloon. Because of the new adventure, everything he once drew comes back to life again. Gary goes into the town square to create his ideal world, just like in his book. Harold tries to battle Gary by drawing things to use against him. The duo goes down in a face-off, but Gary ends up swallowing his piece of the crayon, which allows him to harness the crayon's power with his own hands. Mel summons his imaginary friend to breathe fire and fight Gary. While the creature distracts Gary, Moose morphs to his original self to headbutt the crayon out of Gary's stomach, removing the power and all that he created. Harold sees that Gary is bummed out over not being accepted, so he draws a door to allow Gary to enter a real version of his fantasy world, complete with the Mel's clone. Gary is thankful to Harold, but Carl burns the door down so that Gary can never return. Everyone takes a trip to the Johnson Museum so they can see how Harold's world was created. Harold asks Ms. Barnaby why Johnson created him, and she brings him to a room where Johnson left a note specifically for him for whenever the time was right. Harold is encouraged to continue believing in himself and to let his imagination continue to grow, thereby inspiring other kids to do the same. Harold, Moose, and Porcupine bid Terry and Mel goodbye before returning to their world with crayons in different colors to keep building their world. During the credits, Gary tries to make a move on Zeri, the Mel clone, only to discover that she is already in a relationship with a wizard from that world. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel for more video.